Hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte, and welcome back. Last night, I dreamed I was late for a flight, but the airport was inside a shopping mall, and nobody seemed concerned about this except me. There were people eating ice cream, a woman was trying on shoes, and I was running through the whole thing with a suitcase that kept changing size, which, if you've ever had that kind of dream, you know is exactly as exhausting as it sounds. I woke up tired. From sleeping. That shouldn't be possible. But the strange part, and this happens to me more than I'd like to admit, was that I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because it meant something deep or mysterious, just because it felt so real while it was happening. That particular flavor of dream stress, where everything is slightly wrong, but your dream self is fully committed to figuring it out anyway. I mentioned it to someone during the day, almost without thinking. Just said, "I had the weirdest dream last night." And they immediately leaned in, because that's what dreams do in conversation. They pull people in. Everyone has them. Everyone finds them strange, and almost nobody fully understands them, which makes them oddly wonderful to talk about. And here's what I find interesting from an English perspective. Talking about dreams is actually a really rich space for language practice. Not because dreams are complicated to describe, they're not usually, but because they push you to use a very specific kind of language. Uncertain language, imaginative language, the language of things that felt real but weren't. Phrases like, "I was somewhere that looked like," or, "I'm not sure why, but in the dream I thought that," or, "It didn't make any sense, but somehow I knew that." These are real, natural English constructions, and they come up constantly when people talk about dreams. There's a lovely vagueness to them that actually makes them easier to say, because you're not expected to be precise. Dreams don't have to make sense, so your description doesn't either, which is, honestly, a very relaxing change of pace. So here's something I noticed. When people talk about dreams in English, they almost always use the past tense, which makes sense. The dream already happened. But they also do this interesting thing where they switch into the present tense mid-story without realizing it. Like someone will say, "I was in this huge house and I didn't recognize it." And then suddenly, "And there's this door at the end of the hallway, and I don't want to open it, but I do anyway." Present tense, right in the middle of a past story, because the dream still feels alive somehow, still immediate, still happening in some corner of your memory. And that's completely natural in spoken English. It's called the historic present, if you want the grammar name for it, but honestly, you don't need to remember that. You just need to know that switching tenses while telling a dream story doesn't make you sound confused. It makes you sound like a real person telling a real story, the way humans actually tell stories. What I love about dream conversations is that they're genuinely low pressure. Nobody can fact-check your dream. Nobody's going to say, "Are you sure that's what happened?" You are the only witness. You are the only source. That means you can speak with total confidence about something that was entirely made up by your own sleeping brain. There's something freeing about that, especially if speaking English sometimes makes you feel like you might say the wrong thing or get corrected. In a dream story, there is no wrong thing. Some phrases that work beautifully here. The strange thing was that I felt completely calm, even though, or, "I knew it was a dream, but I couldn't wake up," or, "Everything looked normal, but something felt completely off." That last one, by the way, something felt off, is such a useful everyday English phrase, not just for dreams, for situations, for people, for places that give you a slightly uncomfortable feeling you can't quite name. Worth keeping, worth using. Dreams teach you things, even the weird airport shopping mall ones. There are two kinds of dreams people talk about. The strange ones, flying, falling, missing an exam for a class you never attended, and the ones that feel so real and so close to actual life that when you wake up, you spend a few seconds genuinely unsure which side of sleep you're on. Those second ones are the ones that stay with you. I had one once where I had a long, warm conversation with someone I hadn't spoken to in years. We were just sitting somewhere, talking the way we used to, and everything felt completely normal and easy and right. And then I woke up and remembered that things between us weren't like that anymore. And the dream felt like a gift and a bruise at the same time. I'm not sure there's a clean English phrase for that feeling. Maybe that's why people reach for things like, "It felt so real," or "I woke up and I couldn't shake it," or "I didn't want to wake up, actually." That last one carries a lot, doesn't it? I didn't want to wake up. 3 words that can mean something very simple or something much heavier, depending on the dream and the person saying it. Language does that, especially emotional language. The same sentence can be light or heavy depending on what's behind it, and this is something worth paying attention to as you build your English. It's not just about finding the right word. It's about noticing how much a simple phrase can hold, how "I'm fine" can mean 100 different things, how "it was okay" is sometimes the saddest possible review of something, how "I keep thinking about it" tells you everything without explaining anything. Dreams are actually a wonderful way into this kind of emotional vocabulary, because when you try to describe a dream, you're almost always reaching for feeling words, not fact words. Not, "The building was 14 floors tall," but "the whole place felt wrong somehow." Feeling words are the ones that connect people, in any language, but especially in English, when you're brave enough to use them. I once read somewhere that the most common dream in the world is showing up somewhere important and realizing you're completely unprepared. Exam you didn't study for, presentation you forgot about, stage with an audience waiting and absolutely no idea why you're there. And I thought, of course that's the most common one. Because that feeling, that specific stomach drop panic of not being ready, is so universally human that even our sleeping brains can't leave it alone. There's something oddly comforting about that, actually. Your anxiety dream is everyone's anxiety dream. You're not alone in it. And here's where I want to bring this back to English. Not in a forced way, just honestly. A lot of people who are learning a new language have dreams about it. Dreams where they're speaking English perfectly and effortlessly, and everyone understands them, and it feels incredible. And then they wake up, and it feels slightly unfair that their dream self is more fluent than their awake self. But I want to offer you a different way to look at that. Your brain is practicing while you sleep, genuinely. Language learning happens in rest as much as it happens in study. The fact that English is showing up in your dreams means it's settling somewhere deeper than memorization. It's becoming part of how you think. That matters more than any grammar exercise. So if someone asks you, in English, in conversation, casually, "Do you ever dream in English?" you now have something real to say. You can answer honestly. You can describe a dream, use the past tense, reach for feeling words, Let the story be a little vague and imperfect and human. And that conversation, that small, ordinary exchange about something as strange and personal as a dream, that is real English. That is connection. That is exactly what language is supposed to do. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, awake or otherwise. Charlotte's been here with you today, and she'll be here tomorrow too. Sleep well. Dream something interesting.